Welcome back, St. Lucia, and it's time to introduce my guest, Homer DeMac. Welcome, Homer.
Thanks,
and I'm glad to have you as my first guest on Press Club at the beginning of March. I'll be the host here for the rest of March. And when I thought of inviting you here, the issue came up as it should. What am I going to discuss with her? And I must say that you're one of the very few, very few persons including colleagues who I've invited for an interview and didn't say, what are we going to discuss? It tells me you're ready for the show. But we work together. We work in the same station, WVent. You have your program that follows mine. And we meet on the job. We don't really get to discuss the job. So that's what we're going to do here, off our set, on another set. But Homer, what brought you to journalism? Did you leave school planning to enter the media?
You know, that is actually an interesting story. I was always interested in written journalism. And that is where I wanted to go. That was the path that I wanted to take. Leaving school, I was not quite sure what I wanted to do, but I knew for sure that I wanted a profession that would assist me in using my creativity. The 9-to-5 monotonous job, I cannot do it. And so I think written journalism was one of the things that I thought would allow me to express myself in a way I think I would be good at. And so that was one of the goals. I was looking at that and fashion designing as well. And that got lost along the way.
Which one got lost?
Both of them. You know, that I want to do journalism, I want to do fashion designing. Leaving school, you get external pressure that makes you feel like, okay, I just need a job. And so I got into that. I taught. That was my first job and I enjoyed it. It was absolutely amazing, Canry's Infant School. And I'll tell you though.
You made that immediate transition from student to teacher?
Yes. I will tell you though. Actually, I volunteered with the school for a while. That period where you can't really find a job, you're sending applications and you're getting, yes, we're considering your application, but so I volunteered with the school for a while, and one of the teachers actually went on maternity leave, and I sent in my application to replace her. But the Canry's Infant School spoils you. If you're a staff member of the Canry's Infant School, best principal, best staff members that you could ever work with, I can pledge on that. So after I left, I didn't think that I actually wanted to go or further the teaching thing. And
you didn't want to leave the school?
I didn't want to leave the school. That is what it is, you know. I really did not want to leave that school to go to any other, I will tell you. And I got another job. And during that time, I did a pageant, and I did an interview with TC Brand at The Wave, who, as you know, is the sister station to Vent Radio. And I was saying to TC, you know, I think I can do your job, you know. And he says to me, yeah, man, you have a spirit for radio. And I considered it radio. And when I heard that Vent Radio was looking for a young person to actually be an announcer, I thought of it. I sent in my application. Actually, they went through the National Youth and Sports Council, which I did a lot of work to. I did a lot of volunteering because I can't really stay stagnant and do nothing. It kills me. So I did a lot of volunteering when I was unemployed. So National Youth Council, they went through National Youth Council as suggested. I did an interview. I met the country manager at the time, and the next day I met the regional manager, and I started the day afterwards. That's how I got into radio. Okay,
we're speaking to Homer DeMac. She's the co-host of Bon Après-midi St. Lucie on WVent 93.5, 94.7, and she's on daily. She's a co-host with Marcus Day, and I can tell you folks, it's a 4-hour program, but very widely followed, and I get to listen on my way home because you know you come in just after me, and I get to listen between Grosley and VG, and that's the only time I don't mind getting into a little traffic jam.
We always appreciate your little contributions. And it's still going to call and talk about.
Herma, let's talk a little bit of about you as a young person, volunteering in your community, at your school. Even today, when one listens to you, there's something about you and communication. I think that's what brought you into journalism. You want to interact with people. The fact that you volunteer in so many different fronts. To what extent do you work with and among young persons your age in Canaries or nationally? I mean, I know you interact on the air, but I'm not too sure to what extent that is part of youth to youth interaction. Tell me about your youth-to-youth interaction.
Like I said, I volunteered quite a lot during the period of when I was unemployed, looking for a job. And I started at the National Youth Council through, my first volunteering thing was with Project CAN, and it was a community-based youth group. A number of young people. You got
big mention in the Commonwealth something recently.
Yes. A number of young people within the community, including Tevin Shepherd, who just won 2 awards, Commonwealth Youth Award and the Queen's Young Leader Award. He came together and he said, okay, we need something to do, because within the community of Canaries, it's, if you're not going to work, you're going to school. There's no really extracurricular activity. And so youth are idle, they're always just looking for things to do. We put together that group along with Joy Matthew, who was actually spearheading the whole group, and we did a lot of community work. From Project CAN, I went on to be a part of the Canaries Youth and Sports Council. I served as the General Secretary. And through the Canaries Youth and Sports Council, that is how I started my work with NYC. So I volunteered with NYC on and off on a number of projects that they've had. And Youth Parliament. That is one of the most exciting things that I think I've done throughout youth development, and it is really exciting, you know.
I remember meeting you a day and I was told that's where you were.
So
you
actually,
had a hat, right?
I had a hat, yes, and a jacket and matching dress. But to actually sit in that chair and to be a representative for your quote-unquote constituency and to debate topics of not only interest to that community but to youth, I think that I would recommend anybody to do it. And it's not only on the day itself, but the training that goes through it. I remember the preparation. My very first youth parliament, our trainer at the time was Miss Lissa Dublin. And she went through everything from speaking with confidence and articulation. And I think at that point, there are so many words that, you know, you say unconsciously. And then you realize, wait, I have a problem with saying that? My THs and the Fs was a major problem for me, but I had to work on that. And I enjoyed working on it. And on that day, the rivalry between the opposition and the government and taking it seriously until, you know, it's all done and we can laugh about it.
Yeah, but play it on air one day.
that can be considered.
Yeah, share with listeners and share with viewers. NTN, I'm sure, would be quite willing to make the audio and video available. But still on the question of youth, you're an active part of the youth movement. What do you say to your colleagues? Do you encourage them to become journalists, to join the media? Do you ever get to do that, to discuss press and media careers with your colleagues?
There are a number of people that have identified that they have the ability. And when I say ability, not only they articulate and that they can carry themselves well, but they would hear of an issue and not just say, oh, okay, that's what it is. But they would go and read and verify and say, and then formulate an opinion. And I think that is one of the things that definitely within our field, it's important. And a lot of people actually underestimate the power that they have within media. And the fact that I could say something and people will pick it up and it just becomes law.
To what extent is that, does that have to do with access to social media, to information communication technology?
All
To what
of
extent
that.
has that made a seismic change in how young people in particular address issues?
All of that, you know,
Like
you
you said,
say
your
that,
access to information at your fingertips.
you say that, and it actually reminds me of a book that you gave me when I actually just started, The Net for Journalists.
Okay, yeah.
It's dated, but there's a lot of information in there where you say that, and it reminds me that just the beginning talks about thinking of the internet like a buffet, and there's like just a wide range of food, but some of it is spoiled, and some of it is placed there just to make you sick. But then there's some good things, and you just need
You have to be able to choose.
you need to be able to choose and to find it. And I think that the internet, to a great extent, the fact that information can just be shared in an instant, and people can just pick it up in an instant, that for sure has created, it's a good avenue that you have information at your fingertips. It makes things a lot easier, but you need that much more caution, just because, you know, people can just pick it up and run with.
I often make the point that the very good thing about access to information communication technology, use of social media, the ease with which we can make information travel faster than the speed of light or sound, like you said, it requires a certain level of maturity because the choices are so wide. And Kendall and I often bounce over the fact that I came out of a tradition starting to write with the pen, graduating to typewriter, word processor, computer, and now all of it is available to me. But I still want my pen and paper. To the extent that my sons would say to me and my granddaughter, you cannot imagine the world without the internet. And I would say, I can imagine the world without pen and paper. And the generational difference there would come across. And you would find that most of my colleagues, my generation, in the media, we have access to the social media, but privately would all admit that we're not as good as we should be. But that is where it's at.
Right.
To what extent do you think young people could be encouraged to not only access the information to be better informed, but what next? What do you do when you're better informed, when access to information allows you the opportunity to change your entire outlook? Do young people see it that way, or they just see the phone as a storehouse of information that I have access to? But what do I do with it when I access it? Is it just to make me know more and better about the issue? And we'll go into another issue after that, the whole issue of the use of helplines to combat suicide.
One of the trending stories.
And things like that. But we're due for a break, folks, and we'll take a short break, and when we come back, we'll continue on Press Club with our guest, Homer D. Maxty, right there. We'll be right back.